Hi guys, hopefully you can hear me now. I had a little bit of a glitch. I had to restart my freaking computer. I guess I had it running too many days. But hey, welcome to Alien Strand Podcast. I'm glad you guys here made it back. I have it on my Facebook, but for some reason it just won't let me share publicly. For some reason, I don't know why. But maybe it's going to take a little bit before it does that. But anyway, welcome to the show. And I'll today, like I said, I'm going to be talking about the Buga Sphere and why we are getting all this information. There's a lot of information. I know it's been a couple of weeks or maybe longer since it's been since this sphere has made its way into our atmosphere, right? And it's and this is what it looks like. For nobody that knows what it looks like out there, this is exactly what they've been studying over and over and over for the past few weeks, and they've just been trying to figure out what is this thing, right? And where did it come from? And is it extraterrestrial or is it man-made? What is it? And that's what we're going to try to figure out today, maybe, right? But in really in reality, through this whole thing, this sphere and everything that it brings to the table, it's all for you to decide, really in reality, of what do you think it is, if it's extraterrestrial or if it's one of ours. And I'm going to try to break some things down for you, just to kind of give you a little bit of a balance between what this thing actually is, and what it could possibly be at the same time, right? um and it's one of those things that we've seen these spheres before. We have seen these spheres before, and they've documented them before as well, right? Even there was an older story here. Let me put it up there for a second. So there was this story here in the it says, before bigger US sphere, UFO sphere, there was the Betts US sphere, right? UFO sphere. It says the Betts mystery sphere is about 8 inches, 22-pound metallic orb found in Florida in 1974. It reportedly moved on its own and vibrated as it reacted to music, prompting UFO speculation. And its own origin remains it's uncertain, and its current location is unknown, right? So where is it? Who's got it? Who's got that first one, right? That's what I like to know. Who's got that first one? The only difference between that one and this one is that if you really look at the photo here, it looks very just plain. It doesn't have no inscriptions on it, any hieroglyphs on it, or any kind of any kind of markings on it whatsoever. It's the boy on the left, if you're looking at it, right, compared to what we're seeing and what we've been seeing in the news, all over X, and all over different social media platforms. So it's just one of those things that we're trying to figure out exactly what this thing is, and they've already started doing some kind of studies on it up in Mexico, right, with Jaime Maussan, and then of course Dr. Greer went out there and they went and started studying this sphere, what it was now, right? So they said that it's made of there's three different densities inside of this sphere, right? There's an outer density, which is there's electronic magnetic field on the outside, and there's one and then closer to the rim of it, right? And then there's going to be another one inside of the core, right, of this sphere, right? That they started using, I guess, X-ray kind of technology that we have, trying to figure out what's inside of this thing, right? So I'm going to show you this video. It's about 2 minutes long. Check this out, and if you haven't seen it before, just check this out and see. That way, you guys can get a little bit of logistics of this sphere. Okay.
That was observed, as Engineer Avila said, we can observe that there are three different densities that are involved. Let's let the video run a bit, and we'll have the image on screen any moment. This is the nucleus, and it's real. This is an image that was made of the sphere, that was made at the university. It's a tomography. As you can see, there are certain holes right here that are located at the equator, which is right here, right through the center. We got the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. When I saw this, I asked myself, once again, where's the energy source for it to levitate? Reason for which I started investigating how satellites have a cable and they can be charged through the cable. But I was reminded of Nikola Tesla. Nikolai Tesla experimented with his famous tower, the Wonder Clear. Let's see what he did. As you can tell, this Tesla tower, if you see it vertically, you can see that there's a tube that goes down the center, which is an electrical conductor. It goes underground, and we have certain pallets that are being generated with the current. It generates an electric current, and it's distributed up top. And when the plates move, it generates the necessary charge. Let's move forward. So then I asked myself the following. What if we grabbed the Tesla tower and we inserted it into the sphere? And since there's no river to generate those electrical charges, according to science, is only through friction. You should.
So what's powering this thing up? Is it the friction, electromagnetic field, or does it radioactive? Does it have a radioactive core that's possibly making this thing levitate, float in any direction, and go left and right, and actually just it has weightlessness to it as it's flying, right? Because of the gravitational field around this sphere, right? And so we always tend to just kind of look more into the science of it, of this sphere, of what it is, right? And then later on we start noticing that where this sphere landed, that they're noticing that around the area of the ground where the sphere landed started to deteriorate somewhat, right? Like some kind of radiational poisoning, right? Like what we see in past I've talked about in past podcasts about how other UFOs, when they any place that they land, it makes it burns the ground radioactively, right? Probably about two inches into the ground. So they started noticing that where it landed, the picture on the left is where it landed. The picture on the right is after it landed. After just a few days later, it killed off that whole area of grass, right? So which means that there was some kind of radioactive field around it to make that whole area die, right? Because of that's what it does, right? Radiation poisoning, and so we start seeing people. And this is my concern mainly, is everybody's around this thing, they're holding it. They've said that they have put a radioactive meter on it, and there's no radiation coming off of this thing, right? So apparently, it only comes off as it's levitating, or as it came down, and as the field's just degenerated really in reality, to where when it landed, right? So in other words, I've always talked about the propulsions of these extraterrestrial vehicles, is that it's like a boat. You're giving it gas, it gives more power, and there we go, right? So it probably had a lot of power while it was coming down, and once it landed, it just ceased all energy from it. Now, is the energy completely gone from this sphere? Probably not, right? Because they're starting to see more um, uh, little energy fields still igniting inside of the sphere, right? And this is what they've been noticing lately, that uh, on that video, that it's because they've tried to look deeper inside of the the sphere, and they end up finding little, almost look like little jets of some sort that you can see around the sphere, around the hemisphere of it, and then around the circumference of it, and then you see it deep inside, like there's some kind of radioactive field in the middle of this, right? And of course, there's many people out there, mathematicians, everything, that are trying to figure out, you know, why is it only emitting this energy after why is it not emitting the energy anymore after we got a hold of this, right? Do these extraterrestrial vehicles or extraterrestrials want us to get a hold of this thing, right? To where it doesn't hurt us in any kind, shape, or form. So this is what we try to figure out right at this point. And so they started looking deep with a microscopic, imaging that they have, and they started looking deep inside of it, and this is what they started seeing inside of those little small jets that are inside of there, right? Almost like a propulsion, right? I call them jets, right? So on this video, you'll see that deep inside of these, you'll see that each one of these little jets or holes that are inside of the sphere are still lighting up. You see like a little light blinking still. See that? Bam. And it's turning on and turning off. So there's something is still controlling this, and they're saying that it is emitting electronic magnetic field of some sort, right? So this is what's happening to this uh to this sphere. It's still alive, in other words, what I'm trying to say. It's still able to maneuver if it hasn't yet, ever since they had it, right? But what I'm showing you here is exactly what's going on, right? They're looking deep inside of these, and they're showing that it's still alive, right? It's still going. So where did this thing come from, right? Why is it why is it what it is, right? And this next video I'm going to show you, it's that they poured extremely hot water on top of this thing, and it's still cold to the touch, right? So
y vea como por donde pasa el agua queda brillantica. Es increíble y está totalmente fría. Ella está totalmente fría. Fría, fría la. No, una belleza.
So the elements, in other words, the elements around on the outside of the sphere, nothing is bothering it. It's still at the same temperature that it is, right? So even when you put hot water, in other words, what I'm trying to say here is that just like we see the extraterrestrial vehicles that go into the Earth, right, through volcanoes, we always see them all the time. They're always going through. They go in and they come, and they figure, wouldn't that lava or magma, right? Melt these things. It wouldn't be hot enough to melt, right? And it doesn't phase it, right? The outside, in other words, the whatever is keeping this thing alive, right? Or keeping the power on, let's just put it to you that way, has some sort of I don't know, maybe mechanism to where it will not be hot enough to melt the outside of this sphere, right? So in other words, the metal on this sphere is indestructible. In other words, as far as with heat. So we know that is happening, right? So they started, and then once the physics started coming into play, they started saying, well, this is the way the electronic magnetic field is generating around this sphere, right? Through math, right? And it's basically whatever's turning this thing on and off, right? It's still being controlled one way or another, right? And I mean, we all know what it is at this point, right? And is it safe to say that this is coming from extraterrestrials of some sort? We've been seeing them over there in Mexico so many times already that we've been getting a lot of glimpses of extraterrestrials, right? And then they send this sphere, right? And it lands literally in front of this gentleman, right? So, and then they're trying to figure out, okay, what is this? And they can't even have this in the United States. That's the thing. This is why they had it in Mexico, because they knew that if it was in the United States, it would be taken away from them right away, right? So in Mexico, they're open to this concept of extraterrestrial vehicles, right? UFOs. They're all about it in Mexico. So that's why there is no issue with it there. And this is why they had it there. They even had a security breach as they were having this conference afterwards, because Dr. Greer said that they did have they caught a gentleman trying to pass as a police officer in Mexico. He was trying to get a hold of that sphere, right? So luckily they had this thing locked down, um, you know, to where he could not get a hold of it, which is great, man. Because after a while, you're going to start seeing people trying to get a hold of this thing, one way or another. They're going to try to get it, right? So when we see this sphere, when they started seeing this sphere in flight, so I'm going to show you the sphere in flight, how it was flying, how it was reacting, and so that way we can kind of just break it down a little bit. As we see in the video here, this was the actual video of the gentleman that collected the sphere from the ground. He was videotaping it on his phone. Of course, we call it videotape, but really it's just digital videos, right? While it was, he was seeing it just float around, go left and right. It took off. I remember it took off all the way to the right, and then it literally landed probably about 100 feet from him, right? Like it knew it was being watched, right? So are these some kind of drones of some sort, to where we're starting to notice that this extraterrestrial vehicle is just here just to check out what's going on around Earth, around humans, or what's it doing right at this point? So as you're watching this video, this gentleman still uh, shooting video with his cell phone. Thank God he did that too, to prove that it was in flight, right? And this is the same exact one that you're seeing there on the ground with the hieroglyphics on it, or whatever you want to call them, right? They're on there, to and people were been trying to break down what these things actually mean, the glyphs that are on this thing, the writing that's on it, where it came from. I tried to decipher it myself and try to figure out, okay, you see it right there, how it's just going up and down, and literally it's on its own propulsion, right? What does that, right? And this is the same exact area that I showed you the picture of the actual sphere going down, and where it landed, and where he walked up to it and he picked it up, right? Luckily, he picked it up. He was afraid of the backlash after picking up this sphere. So he was afraid because of him and his son, right? That he didn't want to. His son's like doesn't want to be out there. He's probably about in his 17 or 16. I don't know how old he is, but he just said, I didn't want my son out there in the limelight. I don't want to be in the limelight. So I gave it to Jaime Maussan, right? He said, who's a better person to do it is through him, right? And to actually get so he'll get the information. And since the day that they've had this sphere, they've actually been working on it daily, every day, trying to figure out where it's from, where did it come from, right? And you just you start looking at the designs on it, and people were trying to say, oh no, look, it was a marker, and they zoomed into it, and they were just trying to do their analysis on X. People just out there just don't want to believe this is extraterrestrial, and they'll find all kinds of ways to crap all over this find, right? Because people don't want to believe that there's extraterrestrials out there, right? And this is the design that's on there. And I tried to, I looked at this over and over and over, and found that there was, I don't know, there was 14 or 17 points on that. And I was just trying to, look at the picture. What am I seeing here? If but you don't know their language. It's like trying to figure out something that you don't know anything about, right? And what is this thing saying? In other words, is it saying this is where we come from, or this is for you, or what is this thing? And then why did it land where someone can grab a hold of it, right? So, and Dr. Greer starts talking about this, and he starts saying, hey, well, let's Let's figure out what this thing is. I'm gonna show you this video real quick. Here we go.
Our team here is to confirm the research doing, to consult about further tests, and to do whatever we can do here. I think for the reason of OPSEC or operational security, it should be in Mexico and not in the United States, frankly, because I operate in the United States and it's very difficult. It's the epicenter of the global security state keeping this secret. Not that there aren't components here, but there it is a problem. So much so that members of Congress are routinely denied information. So I think that the other point is the scientific studies, what we want to do would include looking at certain isotopes that would determine if those metals appeared and were originated off-planet or on-planet. It's very difficult to do, it's expensive, but that's what we're going to try to do. We want to try to carbon date it from the polymer if we can get enough. We want to be able to also advise on certain physics tests that can be done. And the gentleman mentioned spinning it and what have you. We have some ideas about that. One thing as to remember, an extraterrestrial device is very different from a manufactured human 21st century. And here's how. They're usually of one part. The components are all seem to be melded together and appear as one, whereas a man-made object is this part, this part, this part. So there are man-made UFOs that are known as alien reproduction vehicles. We have a lot of them. We started making them. My uncle was Northrop Grumman. Lockheed has them, Raytheon. Those are parts and pieces, and they look like a manufactured object. The extraterrestrial vehicles are seamless. They tend to be similar to this. This has some differentiation, and they tend to have the functional components integrated as if it came out of a singular mold. Now, the manufacturing that's extraterrestrial involves a type of what's called trans-dimensional physics, where you set up an
So he's talking about how this thing is molded like into one. It's not pieces like the way we would put something together. Anything man-made has just going to be in pieces. So when you see videos out there of folks showing an 18-wheeler going by with something that looks like a sphere, I always look at those videos and they always think it's a UFO, but really in reality, when you see rivets and turning knobs and all that stuff, no, it's not going to be one. It's going to be a one solid piece, just like that sphere, and that sphere weighs about 20 pounds. So they're figuring it's between 20 and 22 pounds, somewhere around there. And so it's got a little bit of weight to it, right? Because of the propulsion system that probably is inside of this thing, right? Whatever it is, however it was made, right? It has that one solid piece of metal, right? That's going through. So let's listen to the part two. What he finishes talking about the sphere and where it came from and why it's not ours, right? Why, and then how we have to carbon date it. So let's look again.
energy field, and it aggregates the materials together and forms it as a whole, as opposed to us digging something up and welding it together in a machine shop. So we know the difference between extraterrestrial, say, manufacturing and 21st century human manufacturing. Now the question is, there have been extraterrestrial involvement with this planet for probably millions of years, certainly for millennia, and is this object from a prior extraterrestrial involvement, or even an ancient civilization that lived here that was perhaps even human or part human that made these? This is why we want to be able to date it. If it's 5,000 years old or 2,000 years old, that's a huge bit of data, because at that point you realize, well, it can't be anything made recently, and therefore how was it made? Because aluminum has I think needs 10,000 degrees to smelt it. We didn't have aluminum until pretty recently, and other components. The other question is looking for various elements that may not be even in our periodic table. So in other words, it could have elements in it, but this is a very, very esoteric level of astro science and physics, where you'd have to employ very specific labs, and the labs receiving it will not know it came from this. So what we're going to do is more like a double-blind situation. the testing laboratories will have no idea the origin of it. But no, the device, I think, should remain here in secure hands. At some point, we do want to figure out the physics of it, because one of my objectives why I left my medical career was when I realized they were keeping this cabal of fascists and sociopaths have been hiding from us, the people, the means to have free energy, no pollution, no poverty within 20 years. And look at the world that we have now on the brink of nuclear war. It's ridiculous. So I think we can do better as a people, and that's what we hope to do.
Yeah, we can do better as people. Really, in reality, he's on the right track. Because if that sphere has enough power to power up this whole planet, you just never know. That might be something that that our scientists and technologies are going to want to get a hold of, right? And how this thing is working, right? How is it flying? How is it, and why has it been coming down here for years and years? And people that they get a hold of these, they just kind of hide in the background about these things, right? They don't want to say too much about these things, but they are I'm going to say more like a living entity of some sort, right? And there was a gentleman, well, still is. He still has one of these. He's had one since the 1970s, I believe. His name is Ross Colhart, I believe. And he had one, right? And it was actually given to him by a friend of his, some producer guy. And he says, because he went to his house, in the 1970s, and the guy noticed there was this round balls all over, maybe 5 or 10 of them in the yard, in his field. And he asked him, he goes, "What are these things?" He goes, "Man, you're not going to believe me if I told you." He goes, "Well, what is it?" He goes, "I never seen anything like this stuff. Did you make these or what?" He goes, "No." He goes, "You're not going to believe me, but one night when I was sitting out here, I saw a UFO fly over my farm, and in the field right there dropped all these balls off, and they fell right there, and I haven't touched them since." He said, "You can have one." So he gave him one, right? And he's had it ever since. And then he noticed that there was some kind of electromagnetism connected to this sphere, but it didn't have designs. It didn't have anything on it for him to know, or to try to figure out what it was. He didn't give it to science, or he just kept it for himself. There's a lot of people out there like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I would have given it to science myself, because you would probably try to want to figure out what this is. But then if you don't have the means to do it, then yeah, I mean, but if you want it, it's yours, right? In a sense. But I'm going to show you this quick video on him. And that way you can see that he does have one as well, right? Other people do have these. Here it goes.
32 inches, 81 centimeters. I've got a magnet here.
Magnetic.
It's moving.
If this is really alien technology with the ability of anti-gravity, our civilization needs this. And I think it should fall into the right hands.
That's exactly right. He says he thinks it should fall into the right hands, right? And that's what he was talking about. This is what Dr. Greer was talking about, right? That this thing should not be laid out to where anybody can get a hold of this thing, because you never know what they're going to do with it, right? In that sense. Now, when we started talking about the sphere and the meaning of what this thing actually is, or what does this actually say, we could not figure it out. Nobody could. We tried over and over. People just tried over and over to try to figure out exactly what this these glyphs that were on this sphere, what they actually said, what they meant, but nobody could figure it out because it's in a different language of some sort, right? So they use the AI in order to bring this, possibly give us an answer to what this, the meaning of the sphere and what it's about, right? So this pretty much all kind of comes together, and I looked for it all over the place, and I ended up finding one article out there that did have the actual meaning to what this glyph actually, what it's trying to say, right? For us to understand. So here it is. I'm going to bring it to you. It says the object recovered shortly after it landed, and has since been analyzed by scientists who discovered the features of three layers of metal-like material, 18 microspheres surrounding the central nucleus that are called a chip, right? Which we see that square thing that looks like a chip in the middle of it, right? And it says Dr. Luis Vaz Velasquez, a radiologist who examined the sphere, reported finding that there are no wells, no joints, which would be typically indicate a human fabrication, right? So he said his team concluded that it is from an artificial origin, and that it shows no evidence of welding. And it has no internal structure composed of high density elements, right? So more testing is needed to establish its origin. It says the sphere also displays symbols, right? That the team compared to ancient scripts, including ruins of Ogam and Mesopotamian writing systems, right? So they kind of use that to try to see if AI could break it down, right? So using AI to assist in deciphering the design, it says the team interpreted the message to read thus. Here it goes: the origin of the birth through union and energy in the cycle of transformation, meeting point of unity, expansion, and consciousness, and individual consciousness. Since we interpret it as a message to humanity, encourage a collective shift in consciousness to help Mother Earth, especially considering the current issues of pollution and environmental decline, the researchers said, right? So pretty much it's just kind of telling us that, it's just telling us that we are energy, right? Of some, and it's using the meeting point of unity, right, which is all of us, through expansions of consciousness, right? Consciousness means that what's happening here today, right? Through me, through you, through everybody. We are in the now. This is in the consciousness. So this is through AI, right? So we still don't know if that's going to be actual what it says, but that pretty narrows it down pretty much if it is, right? Talking about the extraterrestrial origin. Is it an extraterrestrial origin? I believe it is. We don't have anything like that that flies like that, right? Or exhibits any kind of propulsion of that, right? And that's why I said, could this be something that that came from them? Yeah, I think it is. I think this is something that they sent before, and or sending now all over the place, and to so that way we can try to figure out, you know uh is this, you know uh something that to help us technologically, right? Help us grow and help us get a better energy source, instead of using the energies that we're using now, which is of course carbons, gasolines, even electric energy, because all that alkaline and everything that's in that, it still hurts. As we say, it's going to hurt the planet of some sort of or whatever, right? But we still need the energy to survive, right? So maybe they sent this down so we can look into it deeper and figure out how to make a better energy source, right? And if is this in our planetary system, the materials, is it below our feet? Can we get a hold of it, or do we have to go to another planet in order to get what it has, right? Is it part of the periodic table? It might not be. We don't know that, right? Oh, Ryan Keaton's out there. What's up, my brother? Thank you for watching today, brother. I appreciate it. Um, and we were just talking about what the meanings of the propulsions of could they be helping us? I'm talking about the extraterrestrials, right? Could they be helping us as far as sending these orbs and spheres, and when they come with their visitations since 1947, man, you know, and I'm gonna bring this back to you, because since that day, since the crash of Roswell, even before there was a crash in 42, I believe. So even, or 45. So just by based on the materials and everything, don't you think that those materials would have had some kind of symbolism to where, okay, this is why the sphere's in Mexico, right? This is why they're conducting everything in Mexico, because they don't want Big Brother or these other countries that have got a hold of this information already to know that we are that they don't want us to have it just yet, right? Another what I'm trying to say is since 1947, or and they've already had these symbols and symbolism. They've had extraterrestrials. They've talked to them. They know what all this means, right? They didn't want to release it to the public, right? So we have to do it ourselves as people, as citizen ufologists, as what they're doing up there in Mexico, what everybody's doing to come together with this sphere, right? So as we're trying to work together, as I just explained, as the message said, to work in unity, right? To figure out the energy, right? And that's, I believe, what they wanted it to happen. Because if it would have landed here in the United States, we would have known anything about it. Nothing about this thing. As it flew over, as it landed, they would have just taken it away. Somebody would have grabbed a hold of this thing, and lo and behold, bah, it's gone, right? We would have known anything about it. Case closed. It's over. We're done, right? And though, we still see it, as we caught the first glimpse of it. We've been catching a lot of videos of spheres as they were flying over, and people just trying to figure out exactly what these things are. They even Juanito Juan, he had a sphere in his house, and it had that white that light in the dead center of it, right? So these things have been coming around for a few years now, but now we actually got one in our hands to where we can actually work on it, figure it out. But as Bob Lazar said, they couldn't break the propulsion system open inside of one of these UFOs. If they did, I don't know how many scientists died trying to break it open before they got a hold of him, right? So whatever is inside is very radioactive, right? And he even says it himself. It's super radioactive, and it'll kill you as soon as you try to break it open or something happens, right? Thus, there we see, bam, burn spots, stuff like that, right? If you have anything laying around the ground, I think Ryan was telling me around his area that he sees like marks like this from these actual UFOs that are coming down low around his area there in San Antonio, Texas, right? So, if you start seeing these burn marks around, hey, man, it's got some sort of radiation of some sort of, that we're just trying to figure it out what it is. So, as we're trying to figure all this out of this Buga Sphere, is it a message? Is it a message to humanity? Is it a message for us to figure out, okay, hey, man, we got to make this better. We need a better energy source. Or is it just too much power? Too much, right? He who has the power controls the world, right? He who has the money controls the world. So that's just the way it is. It's unfortunately humans are not. Our mentalities are not like the extraterrestrials. Our mentalities are about greed. Greed, man. That's all it is. Everything it is about greed. Money. That's it. How to better myself and how I make myself up here, right? The hell with everybody else. Unfortunately, that's the way it is, right? It's greed and power. And that's just the human mentality. That's what wars have been about over and over and over, right? So you give them an energy source like this. Is it a scary thing? Yeah, I think I talked about it in my last podcast about ancient civilizations, right? It's like, why, when they came here, or if they were here thousands and thousands of years before us, do you think that they were going to leave something behind? It's like giving a baby a loaded shotgun, right? So no, you don't do that because it's too dangerous. So this is why we never saw the remnants of any kind of technological materials or anything that was buried beneath the earth that they had or they used to make a lot of these temples or pyramids or whatever. That's because they didn't want us to have it. But why now? That is the key question, right? Ryan says, I wonder if that symbol has some kind of frequency that makes that design. I don't know. Maybe. It's that's one thing that we're still trying to figure out on the symbolism of what everything means on it, right? And I mean, I tried to put it together. You heard me that other night on ASDP a couple of weeks ago. I was counting the moons. I was thinking there was different moons and planets, on there, and I was trying to figure out the center of this thing and how many points and where it led to. Right? Maybe it's telling you something about their solar system, but and in reality, it by the AI, it wasn't. It was just trying to get it all figured out to where it meant something, right? As far as the AI, and that's what we have to try to figure out. What is this sphere and what is it about? And in a nutshell, I'm gonna show you one more video to break this down on the basically the direct info of this, right? And here we go. Let's go ahead and play this.
Remember that video we made about the UFO sphere covered in strange hieroglyphics? At the time, we said it had been collected and was being tested. Now, this is the first footage of it in someone's possession. In the video, a woman pours water on the metallic orb, and the symbols become more visible, almost like they react to moisture. Witnesses say it's perfectly smooth, cold to the touch, emits a low hum, and it can obviously fly because it came out of the sky. Then we see Mexican UFO researcher Jamie Maussan inspecting it closely. Yes, the same one who brought alien remains to Congress. And now, alleged X-ray images show a dense core that may be an energy source, and egg-like shapes inside, fueling wild theories about what this thing might be storing. The Buga Sphere isn't just strange, it might be one of the most mysterious objects ever recovered.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have seen anything like this. And if they would have not brought this to the table, we would know nothing about this, right? Now they're starting to study the inside of it, just like the beginning of this podcast. I showed you the video, right? Rainstorm Hunter, hey, hello, how you doing? So what we're just trying to break down today is, what is this thing? Where did it come from? And is it extraterrestrial origin? Is it from an extraterrestrial origin? I believe it is. I believe it is, and I believe that's where it comes from. It's technologies that we don't have, and I don't think we're ever going to have anything like this. Not in our lifetime. Maybe in a next 100 years, possibly, but while we're still living and breathing right now, I don't think we're going to see this kind of technology take hold. In other words, like in a plane or some kind of flying uh, uh, vehicle without having any kind of propellers or propulsion as far as air, oxygen, anything like that to make it float, right, or to make it go up or down, or left or right, or whatever, right? This technology that's right here is way beyond our means, way beyond, right? And when they were talking about the beginning of the video, how Nikolai Tesla, was already using this kind of energetic fields, right, to give more energy and power. You just kind of turned it sideways inside of this sphere, and there it almost looks like what's inside of the sphere. It's radioactive. There's got a core inside of there, right? My thing is, what is controlling this? That is my thing. And just like Ryan was talking about, does it have a frequency? Is it emitting some kind of frequency? It has a low hum. Yes, it does. We just saw it in the last video I just played. There is some sort of hum, right? So yeah, it's giving off a signal of where it is. That's what we do when we send probes to space. Our rovers to Mars. There's some kind of frequency that we are able to. There's a digital frequency that we are sending back and forth to these rovers out there, and they're basically doing the same thing, you know, uh, bringing the information to themselves as far as this thing is possibly scanning the ground, scanning people, scanning everything, right? And as people touch it and get a hold of it more. Hey, I don't know, maybe it's getting your samples of your DNA as you're doing that, right? Who's to say it's not, right? I mean, they're already doing that with our DNA, right? You send it in, they tell you where you came from, thousands of years ago or whatever, and where it all started, and basically this is the same thing. It's going to be more advanced than you've ever thought about, right? Who's to say that whole thing is not a fingerprint? It's grabbing your print, it's grabbing all the information on you. You don't know from your DNA, right? Everybody's grabbing a hold of this thing, right? So I don't know. It's just you have to think outside the box. You have to think outside the box, and that's how I see it. It says Rainstorm says, okay, I think it's an alien. It's collecting data. It must be deleted. Let's see. Hence, more falling or being seen. It says, and the South American anomaly may be bringing them down. Hey, possibly. And he says, I hear the hum frequency is key. Yes, I know it is. It has to be. Because everything this whole planet works on a frequency as well, right? And that's how we have to look at this sphere and what is it about. And there's another video I was going to show you real quick. It was a ship, I guess a cruise ship of some sort, and what looks to be, at first you're going to see the video and it's almost going to look like a piece of paper flying, right? But it has some kind of structure to it, right? And this is in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of nowhere, I believe. So let's check this video out real quick. Okay, so we're starting to see the tumble and almost like air. And usually when you see a piece of like a bag flying up in the sky, if you see a bag of from your local grocery store or whatever, it's gonna be tumbling and doing all kinds of stuff, and it's not gonna. This one actually has a straight trajectory, right? A bag would probably be going kind of up and down. It'd have some kind of different movement. This one actually has some sort of trajectory. And then when I started looking deeper into it, I was like, well, let me zoom into it a little bit closer, and I started noticing that it does have electronic magnetic field around this craft. So let me go ahead and put it on. Balloon, bag, sort of. It almost looks like a disc. Then it turns into a tic tac sort of looking shape as well. It's I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain exactly what that is, but we're starting to see more and more of those in the sky every day, and as we're noticing, they're all over the place. These spheres, orbs, everything that I just showed you, ever since even in the 1972 when I showed you that picture of that kid that found one as well in Florida, right? So these things have been coming around for a very very long time, and so which tells you that this technology has been around for a long time, even before. Because if you look at this photo, in 1974, we didn't have the technology we have now, right? Even at that would have freaked them out. Just seeing something like that fly and land, right? So that's what we have to really think about when we're talking about the sphere, right? And its propulsion and how it works, and why and what is it, right? We just it's just a hard thing to try to figure out. And I showed you, I tried to break down as much of it as possible of what I think it is, and I think it's extraterrestrial because of the inside and the core, and how they're able to just take samples of this ones. And it's like Dr. Greer said, once they take the samples, we want to know if that element is on the periodic table, right? If it is or it isn't, right? And if it's not, then we're going to really know. And if it is, at least I can carbon date it, possibly, and then just see how old this material really is. Right? Could it be 100,000 years? Could it be 1,000 years? Could it be 100 years? I don't know. But once they get a sample of this stuff, we're going to know that is an actual extraterrestrial origin, right? This is where this thing came from. And it's we can sit here and speculate all we can, right, on it, but in the long run, we have to. We Me personally, I would be more about safety on this sphere than anything else, only because of what it did to the ground and what it might have some kind of long-term effects. I mean, would you like to grab a hold of it and just hold it in your hands and just feel the weight? Yeah, man, but I don't know. I wouldn't do it without wearing that vest that they have at the X-ray room, right, or some gloves, right? Because you just don't know, man, what's inside of these things, right? And it's a dangerous topic as far as the sphere, and having an actual extraterrestrial piece of, let's just say, it's not a craft, but it is a craft, right? So of some sort. It's like having a piece of Roswell with you and showing the world, right? Uh, he already brought out the extraterrestrials in Peru, right? They've been checking into those as well, right? So there has been so many ups and downs about it, but this one right here, I think this one's going to hit the nail on the head. I believe this one's going to have a lot more information for us to study and to know about, and maybe we can get some kind of new energy, and somebody can figure out how to make this new energy without it costing billions and trillions of dollars, right? Or how much money they're making off of us. Because that's what they're doing, man. The electric companies and all these energy companies and gas. Just think about this. If you didn't have to pay electricity no more, forever, and you didn't have to pay gas no more, forever, until you die, that's when right? So, it's I just kind of look at it that way, right? So Rainsource says, I'm there with you. Definitely need to keep studying. Yes. Safety first. Exactly. And that's what it's about, man. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. It started a little slow, man. I was trying to get people going. My Facebook, for some reason, it just stayed on private. It wouldn't let me put it publicly. I don't know, man. You know the way Facebook is. Sometimes it lets you do it, sometimes it don't. But just think about exactly what the meaning of that sphere really meant, right? And what AI says, right? The origin, what it says, the origin of birth through union and energy and the cycle of transformation, the meeting point of unity, expansion, and consciousness, and individual consciousness, right? So, hey, it's just telling us you're you, I'm me, we're human, you're not, or vice versa, right? But anyway, all right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow us on all these platforms. This will be on audio as well, so if you guys want to go back and listen to it in your vehicle, go check it out. I hope you guys, like I said, enjoyed this one. We'll have another podcast coming up soon, another one on audio. Be going to our Patreon, be free members, go join there. You can catch these videos there as well on the Patreon app, on everything. Here on Rumble too, man. Just give us a thumbs up. If you're watching on YouTube, yes, and Rumble, give me some thumbs up, hearts, whatever, comments. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you guys for commenting out there. I love you guys, and like I said, I'm gonna get some more out here pretty soon, and we'll see you on the next one, right? But until then, you guys have yourselves a good day, have yourselves a good evening, and have yourselves a good night. We'll see you on the next one. Alien Strand Podcast. Bye.
Holy crap.
I believe it was 5 separate craft. That's some straight UFO shit right there.
that's when I started seeing all of the lights and the contact that I've been witnessing.
I just kept filming and looking up at the sky, and it just started happening more frequently.
Look, what is that?